Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
And I'm Ginny Oliva Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you will hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise. How do you show up in difficult relationships? Do you? Or do you run from troubling relationships in the name of self-care and mental health? Are you seeking a way to remain in difficult relationships in a way that serves your personal development instead of fleeing when the going gets tough? Can staying in challenging relationships through boundary setting be the pathway to emotional intelligence and enlightenment? Hey guys, what's up?
What is up, everybody?
Welcome back.
Yes, it feels like we haven't hung out with you for a while. I don't know why. I guess it's been been longer.
It is, yeah. Usually we put out a show every 2 weeks, but we had some stuff going on, some visitors in town.
So many things. Yeah, visitors in town.
Funerals,
people passing, Amanda releasing a book. You guys, what? Yeah, when you think about it, it almost sounds silly what's happened in 3 weeks.
A lot.
Because it's like a lot. Yeah, that's enough for, I don't even know, a couple of years probably. So we missed you guys, and we're glad to be back because, you know, it's always good to come hang out, and it's very therapeutic even for us to sit here and discuss these topics that come up in real time, a lot of the time for Amanda and myself. And yeah, she came up with a great one today. It's definitely reflective on real life things happening. So we're glad to be with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We know that there's a gazillion shows out there, really cool people, really smart people, really heartfelt people that you could be learning from and listening to. So you taking however much time you're going to spend with us today, listening to our show, we really appreciate it. And we want to say thank you.
Absolutely. We wouldn't be here without you. And in fact, we've had the opportunity already. Amanda and I were able to be on a podcast. Do we know when that's coming out?
I don't know when that's coming out.
Amazing show. But yes, we even get to know some of these other podcasters out there who are incredible. So yes, thank you for choosing to come spend time with us. And as we rise together in this community, it means everything.
Yes, souls rising together. So remember, please follow us, share, tell your friends if you like what we have to say. Tell your friends and leave a review, and leave a review honestly, right?
Yeah, like we're pretty thick-skinned sometimes.
yeah. Sometimes.
Most days.
Depends on the day.
Yeah, but don't get too crazy, but, tell us what's up.
We don't have to be that mean. But, be honest. We want honest because we're only going to learn by hearing the tough stuff and being willing to take that in and look at ourselves honestly and say, all right, we can tweak this, we could change this. So if you do have any feedback, please let us know. We will be open-minded and we would really appreciate it. Even if you, I don't want to hurt their feelings. No. Please tell us. We need to know.
Exactly.
So today we're going to be talking about big bad boundaries.
Oh man, the boundaries. Such a good time.
Another buzzword, right? In the personal development world right now, everybody's talking about boundaries. We've been talking about boundaries for a while, for a bunch of years now, but I think a lot of people are really coming around to needing to set boundaries. And we're going to take this a little deeper today and also talk about internal boundaries in terms of where you let your own self go in your own heart and your own mind. Like you start thinking about something and then you start getting upset about it. Or you didn't want to think about something, but you're thinking about it, or whatever it is. And it's like, wait a minute, but I said I wasn't going to go there, and I said I wasn't going to do that, and then you do it anyway, right? Internal emotional boundaries. We're going to dive into that a little bit. It's a little bit of a confusing topic, so we'll do our best to explain it. Why I want to talk about boundaries today is because there's a lot of talk in the personal development world about protecting your peace. Which is necessary. Protect your energy, which is necessary. But how far are we taking that?
Right.
Are we using that as an excuse to not have to engage in any difficult relationships, right?
Right. You just shut down.
The minute we see a red flag, I'm out. They're bad for my mental health, or that's not good for my self-care. And I'm going to preface this entire show with, I am not speaking about abuse.
Oh, yeah. No, most definitely. That's a whole different level, and never at any point would we ever Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I would never suggest you stay in an abusive relationship verbally, emotionally, mentally, physically, in any capacity. So when you're thinking and you're listening and you're taking this stuff in, please continue to remember we're just talking about difficult or challenging relationships.
Not dangerous or destructive ones to your mental, personal, physical health. Those are a whole different thing. And we're not doctors either. So it's like those are the things that continuing to seek like your therapist or the people at your trusted physician.
Good
We're not talking about that. We're talking about
not at all. And
you challenging ones.
Yeah, and you get to decide what the definition of abuse is, right? If it feels abusive to you, but get honest with yourself. Is this abusive, or is this really traumatic to me, or is this just another buzzword being thrown around?
Because it's easy to hide. It's very accessible armor to be like, oh no, I can't. I'm not doing it because I'm not hearing you because this is bad for my peace. And I'm not going to hear what you have to say because I have to protect my boundaries. A lot of times we're kind of hiding behind that. It's not really.
Yeah. It's much easier to run away and tell ourselves and actually boost ourselves up and say, oh, I'm so proud of myself for not engaging in that relationship because that's bad for me and blah, blah, blah. When the truth might be that you're just unwilling to do the hard work.
Looking at yourself, which is not always pleasant.
And changing, changing to maybe show up. And this is what we're going to talk about, showing up in relationships in a way that's going to serve you by becoming love, by becoming compassionate, by being understanding. You are going to grow. So these adversaries, perceived adversaries, because I believe most adversaries exist in our minds since we're all one and we're all love and all that jazz. But by staying in these relationships or in whatever proximity you deem appropriate, right? Like as far away as you need to be or as close as you want to be, they can serve you in great ways. For me, how else am I going to grow? If I'm, it's like we said this in the very first show, right? Like if I'm skipping through the daisies and life is great all the time and everybody loves me and everything is great, where is my growth going to come from?
Yeah, in my mind, I think about too, it's just when you first start going back to the gym or whatever and you're lifting weights, it's like if you just went, you're like, I'm going to lift this 1 pound weight all the time and just never go past that. Like you literally have to get to the point where your muscles are fatigued and hurting even.
You have to get uncomfortable.
You have to get uncomfortable.
You have to get uncomfortable.
Or you don't grow. It's true.
I want to encourage you to use these relationships in a way that are going to serve you and ultimately going to serve that person too. We're not responsible for changing anybody or controlling the outcomes. We're only responsible for the effort, not the outcome, we say in recovery. But you do have an effect on people much more than you think you do.
We all do. It's an energetic exchange you're having every single time. Any one of us interacts with another person, another human being in a room, anytime we're having an exchange. You can impact tremendously, and without even meaning to, you might be bringing up insecurities or triggering somebody in a way because they're looking at you and seeing something in you that might be causing them to be questioning something about themselves or getting to that uncomfortable place like you're talking about, of a place that they just wouldn't normally go.
Yeah. So you have that sort of power. And then you also have the power to sort of steer situations and conversations. If somebody's acting a certain way that I don't like or I'm uncomfortable with, or they're saying something and I jump down their throat or I respond in a nasty way, I give them back exactly what they gave me, right? Like, you're not going to talk to me that way. I'm going to give it right back at you.
You're going to see how it feels.
Exactly. I'm going to show you. No, because where's that conversation going to go? It's going to devolve into fighting, yelling, screaming, maybe hanging up the phone on each other, maybe never speaking to each other again.
Right.
If you take the high road and focus on being love and peace and compassion and giving, how do we do this? Neutral statements, questions, those things work. If somebody is being ornery or they're just saying things that you're like, wow, I cannot believe it. That just came out of that person's mouth. You have a multitude of ways you can respond. So first, you don't have to respond at all, but if you choose to respond, you can de-escalate situations extremely quickly.
Yeah.
Do not engage in a nasty way where you're going to fuel the fire. Engage in a way with the intention of putting the fire out. Like I said, you're not responsible for changing anybody. It's for you. It's for you to say, you know what, I didn't go there.
Right.
right? I didn't go down to their level. I'm trying to bring this whole situation up. I'm trying to raise the frequency of this entire conversation.
Yes, that's a great point you're bringing up, because in terms of energetic frequency, that interaction's always very dense and heavy, and it brings up heavy things for us. And none of us like those density places, and we're humans, so we're going to have them. But they are very uncomfortable. They're very uncomfortable, and it's almost knee-jerk reaction, and some of it's probably survival skills.
Yeah.
But to have that, what did you just say to me? Like, and there are times, even after the fact, which, like you're talking about, how non-productive it can be when I can have a situation where someone, and it doesn't happen all that often, but when it has, it's like, have this thought in my head. I literally fantasize later about being like, oh, really? Like, you know what? Like, you have no idea. And then especially with me, I got this problem with like you mistake my niceness for weakness. And I'm going to make sure you understand that the two are not the same. Like, there's times I'm like, whoa, scare myself. Doesn't come out that often. But where I'm fantasizing in my head, like, oh, I'm going to tell that mofo next time, because I can be sharp with my words. I don't do it often, but it can happen. And there's times where I literally put energy into, oh, the next time this happens. Like, I'm doing something in a moment that's not even there anymore, when I could be using that to say, what is this bringing up for me? Why am I so triggered? What is this? What's happening? You know, what is happening in me?
To use all these situations for introspection and to take a look and say, why is this triggering something in me? Instead of just automatically saying, I can't, blame, right? Like, no, how about look at yourself and say, well, what is this bringing up in me? That's huge. That is so huge. And some of these relationships are talking about, you can't leave, right? Like we say, oh, just walk away, just walk away. You can't always leave, like a coworker, or you choose not to leave, like a parent or a child.
Right, family,
Where although they're triggering you, to leave would cause more anxiety and more pain, and you'd feel bad about yourself. Like, I've considered leaving some important relationships in my life. And when I really play the tape and walk myself through it, I would feel worse about walking away from that relationship.
And it would cause such a ripple, not just for you and that person, but likely for like other people in orbit of it, whether it be coworkers, whether it be family, whether it be any of that. It would affect a lot of other people that are involved in that circle of people.
Yeah. Totally. So if you do choose to stay in these relationships, like, how do we use these things to show us our true selves and what healing needs to be done? I talk about this a lot in my book, this whole imago theory that basically says that we're drawn into partnership with people for healing. Like the phrase, oh, you married your father.
Oh, yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same idea.
Right.
That we're looking to heal basically childhood wounds through relationships. And that happens not just with spouses or partners.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Friendships.
Happens with everybody.
Happens with everybody.
I looked back on a job I used to have years ago, and I was like, that makes perfect sense that I stayed in that job when I knew that I wasn't being treated properly and it was killing me, but I stayed anyway, because it's this, I'm trying to work something out inside. So I don't have to leave the job necessarily, but I need to look at it. So I'm not so affected anymore. And then I can show up in my full self, regardless of what anybody's doing around me. That's the whole ticket here. Like, if I can show up with my self-worth and my self-esteem and my self-love intact, what you're doing is not going to bother me as much.
No.
I'm going to need to set all these boundaries because it's not going to bother me.
Those are things I've had to very uncomfortably look at. We'll get into that later, but even recently, when times you don't expect it. And the first reaction is, golly, that person is so in the wrong about this during this time of what everyone's going through or whatever it might be. And having to really look at it and say, this wouldn't bother you so bad if there weren't unhealed wounds just rising to the surface right now. And it's true. It is not something I know, even for myself, I've just not been comfortable before. I would always just be like, how do I make it all better? Generally before, I was like, who do I need to please and make, oh no, you know what I mean? Like, how do I just make this better for everyone around? And then you're like twisting yourself all sorts of ways instead of, like you're saying, coming in as yourself with the love for yourself, because then you can also have compassion for the person, because there's a good chance you're bringing some shit up in them that they aren't comfortable with either.
Well, that's exactly why they're giving you a hard time most of the time, because they're trying to deflect and they don't want to feel whatever you're bringing up in them.
No.
And they're going to toss it back on you in whatever hurtful way that they're going to try to, so they don't have to feel whatever it is you're bringing up in them.
Right.
So if you kind of shut it down and say, I'm not playing the game, right? Like I'm not going there because I know myself and my whole self is intact and I'm good and I'm showing up in love and compassion. You're taking the high road,
right?
And it just shuts it down. It shuts that whole conversation
it
down. That's how you neutralize things and the questions of like, oh wow, I didn't know you felt that way, or oh wow, I didn't think of it like that, or oh that's interesting. I'll take a look at that. Right?
Yeah,
like if somebody
people automatically are disarmed.
like
what'd you say?
Yeah, exactly. Because they're expecting you to be defensive and to come back.
It comes back to that thing. I know we talked about it before, but we talk a lot about those of us that have those dopamine deficiencies or, through different reasons. But a lot of times it's just easier. You're almost looking for combat because you get the adrenaline of it. Well, let's have a conflict.
Yes.
Instead of me feeling very vulnerable and raw and wounded, I'd much rather feel like a warrior right now. So let's start a fight. Let's do it and put my armor on and it just feels safer.
But then how do you actually feel when you walk away, even if you win the fight, right? You might feel justified. You might get a little ego trip for a little bit. But then afterwards, I feel a little flat. I feel like I missed some kind of opportunity. And I can sense that, right? And we're kind of talking a little bit like next level stuff in terms of being able to do this quickly. So you're not going to be able to do this for most people immediately. I still can't do it. I still get caught up.
That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't do it last week. So,
but Ginny called me. She was away. She'll tell you the story. And she called me, which thank you so much for reaching out to me and trusting me.
Thank you for answering.
Yeah. So it happens more quickly. We're unwilling to stay in these feelings as you do this work.
Oh, yeah.
It's unacceptable to live with this going on inside. So we got to address it. And we know that there's something more. It's always about the learning. What we perceive to be as negative situations, which I think are just challenging. I don't know if there are any real and truly negative.
Right.
That's what they're all there for. To use these difficult relationships and situations to show up in what I call esteemable boundaries. And
I love that term, by the way. I had never heard it, and it's really awesome. I know you talk about it in your book too, but yeah, tell us a little bit. You shared it with me, but
yeah,
for our homies here. That's you guys.
Homies. So esteemable boundaries is a way to use difficult relationships to build your self-esteem, to put it in the most simple terms. Leaving all these challenging relationships, I believe, is a form of emotional self-protection. In my book, everything is about how we can disarm ourselves so that we don't feel that we have to walk around protecting myself all the time, right? Like, who's going to be at the party? And if I don't like that person and their energy, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Like, who are you hurting? You're only hurting yourself because now you're not going to the party where maybe you would have had fun and you would have been able to see other people that you love and hang out.
Exactly. And who love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to use those uncomfortable situations where you're at the party and you got 20 people and maybe you don't like 2 or 3 of them, right? To use those situations to practice being love and compassion and understanding and not thinking about yourself, being emotionally selfless and saying, okay, I'm going to stop thinking about myself and how these people are affecting me. And I'm going to think about what can I bring to the table? How can I be of service?
How can I be of service? And most of the time in those situations, there's a chance that you're needed almost in a way, like a lot of those times where you have an opportunity to heal something really big in the space, whether it's one person or more than one person. The times they feel most challenging, you're almost being called. It's like call to action in a way of like, let me show up and not be in combat, but let me show up and be love, like you said. Just be like, transmute that, turn it into something else. Just be present there and let yourself believe and know you're going to show up for yourself because it makes perfect sense. And if you're able to do that, you start building that sense of trust in yourself. That like,
you don't have to hide from anybody or anything.
No. And you do build a sense of, you think of self-esteem as like, oh, wow, yeah, I like the way my hair came out today. Like, no, this is different. To be able to know with yourself, like, you're going to be all right. It's okay. Like, I got you because I know you. Like, I know your heart. I know your intentions. And the more we get to know ourselves, the more we're able to just walk into a situation and be anchored. And I think you're right that these opportunities, they come up, and most of the time it's just so much easier to be like, I'm not going over there. I'm not hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm gonna take shit from people.
I'm not saying you gotta like go out of your way to be super nice to somebody. No, because then you're bordering on codependency, and that's not good. But like, I don't know, if you happen to be standing next to the person, like you just happen, hey, how you doing? What's going on? What's new? You know, strike up like a very simple conversation, or give somebody a little tiny compliment, and it doesn't have to turn into, oh, now we're best friends and we're hugging and everything's great.
Yeah.
You give the compliment, or you could say the little nicety and then walk away.
Yeah, sometimes you could go walk away and engage with someone else, because there are sometimes you're going to try to do that. You're going to be all, hey, oh, so anyway, I really love, like, that's awesome. Whoa, this food's really good you made. And then sometimes they'll literally look at you straight in the face. They'll look at you and make sure that you know that they heard you, and then they'll just look away like...
And it hurts. And that's going to roll into Ginny's story of something that happened to her last week, the week before, that made us want to do this show.
Yeah. I'm experiencing some of this at a unexpected, I guess, kind of deep level. Things that I thought, I'm like, oh, I don't have a problem with this person. I am somebody who has had those issues with codependency. I need people to be okay. And there's a lot of times that fear of hurting somebody or not being accepted or making someone upset or mad. That's been something that's followed me throughout my life. I think just childhood situations, survival things. So being a recovering codependent person who's convinced they're not codependent, I'm like, I'm the most independent person in the world. Like, I could do things on my own, which I can, but I also need to fix everybody and fix every situation, which is codependence. Had been experiencing a situation with a relationship that it's really odd. It's not often that I go through a situation where my utter presence is disturbing to somebody, like just walking in a room. I've been in sales my whole adult life. I love people. I can walk into almost any room and can figure out a frequency of, okay, I can know what to tone down, what to bring out, what to do in order to help people be comfortable and be comfortable around them. And it's not often that I've had this situation where recently, over the past few years, I've realized like my utter presence around this person literally makes them sick almost. That's how it feels. And I don't know why. I have no idea why. This is somebody who been very close with in the past. Very close, like crazy close. Family vacations, things like that. Somebody who I've cared a great deal about, somebody who I've had a really tight friendship with. I have a vague idea of what might have happened, but not 100% positive. We were sitting at a table with people, and I was trying to like, okay, I know I need to be cool in this situation because there's other circumstances that were occurring with the loss of someone we all love so very much. So I had that in mind, and I continue to keep it in mind. I didn't think these wounds were still there for me. It's been a couple years since they kind of started. And boom, like, I mean, a hurricane rolling in, this feeling, it shook me to my core. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, whatever. I'm just going to be around this person the least amount that I need to be. I'm not going to be around them very much. I'm going to show up and be love, all of that. And then literally there were times where I've asked this person a question. They would look straight at me, look me in the eyeballs, and turn around and look away like, please shut up, because you're making my soul die a little bit every time you speak. That's how it felt. And I didn't, again, in my mind about, wait, what's wrong with me? What did I do? And I'm in my head doing that old behavior, you know? Okay, wait, what happened? Did I upset somebody? You know, what did I do? But allowing that to hit my core, my ego for sure, let me tell you, I thought that thing was like in check. Oh God, it was literally providing me this opportunity of instant ego inflammation and hurt. I mean, instant. I was like, what in the, I've been great. Like, I'm in my head, I'm like, I've let that go. It doesn't matter. I don't need that person. And if they don't need me, we're cool. It's fine. No, this was like instant. I was so hurt.
That's the fun stuff about this work, is you think you've made progress.
Oh, it's hilarious, because you really think, I'm like, oh no, I'm doing so much better about that.
But you have made progress.
I
because
have.
you called and you processed
and I talked about it. Yeah, instead of fantasizing about bitch slapping somebody who, by the way, I love. P.S.
You didn't stew in it.
No, I did not for too long. But man, I went over it probably more than I needed to, I think, to a degree. But I had to ask myself the question. I was so grateful when Amanda answered the phone, because I did want to talk to someone who I knew could be objective with me, because I got friends too who I could start in on that and they would be like, you know what? F that person.
Yeah, don't we do that? Don't we call everybody until we get the answer
Until we get the answer we want. Oh, and I could have been like, beep, 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 beep. They would have been like, what? What do we need to beep? Do we need to beep? What? And then, no, that's not what I needed. And Amanda really helped me talk it out in a way that I realized that the feeling that was coming up so much was this feeling, totally old wounds of being kicked out of my tribe, man, not having the main people who like, even parental, there's old wounds that I have that are about not being accepted, not being wanted.
Yes, isn't that like, always what it comes down to?
Gosh. And I mean, I had to hear myself saying these things as I was talking to Amanda and it came out. And I'm like, holy mackerel. We walk around our life. A lot of times we're carrying these things and sometimes it's not 100% ours. For instance, and this isn't to be disrespectful at all to either one of my parents. I'm grateful to them and I love them. But at times in their unhealed times, their divorce and all the things and the betrayal that they felt they did to each other, they had a habit of using us kids in a way of like playing chess, and both my parents at one time or another in these weird backhanded ways for like, my mom not too long ago was like, I'm so glad and I'm so proud of you for all the things you're doing. I'm just so proud of you. She's like, I just remember how sad everyone was for me when they found out I was pregnant with you. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm getting ready to make a massive decision in my life at that time. I'm like leaving my career to like start this thing. And she's like, I'm just so proud of you because I remember being pregnant with you. People were like, oh my gosh. They were crying for me because I was finally going to leave your father. And I couldn't do it because here you were. And she says, I'm not, she's never said any of this before, right? She's trying to compliment me. And she's like, I'm just really glad I didn't abort you like you wanted to do, right? And I feel because these things give me a sense of humor, I think these days as I've gotten older, but I was like, what is she, what? And I laughed it off at the time, but I was like, oh shit. And then, at times when same from my dad's end, he made sure I knew that there was a time my mom was so heavy in her addiction that it was like, she sold the parental rights for like $500 so she could go get Oxy. Like you were 13 and she was just like, cool, take her. And he was upset too. He was hurt with the things she had done. Long story short, I didn't realize as much as I maybe think that they've rolled off my back. Really, they did not.
Man, that stuff's a lifelong process.
And consciously, right?
Yeah, we think we're good.
Doesn't matter
because we intellectualize things, we understand it, we forgive the people, but it just leaves this mark. These like coarse things from our childhood that they're in us. They're so ingrained in us.
Yes.
Sometimes the best we can do, I think for anybody, progress, not perfection.
Progress, not perfection.
But we are moving forward on a spectrum of healing every time we look at this.
Yes. And
so
the thing
this girl,
she
is helping you.
She brought this up. Yeah. So this feeling, like I said, these are things that I've thought never bothered me. And again, they may not even be fully true. Who knows? My parents were in tough spots. I don't blame them. But all of a sudden, this thing came up. I'm like, holy crap. I've been battling with this thing of not being wanted. That my life in general was not even originally wanted. And in fact, was like, you're really messing up the plans right now. But that's not something I ever thought bothered me. But then I have this scenario with someone who I care deeply about and have had a friendship with years. Like our kids know each other well and all the things. And all of a sudden, this just viscerally painful feeling and then anger.
Yeah.
There's a few times where I'm like, oh no. It's only come out a few times in my life where I have that ability to be like, I'm cutting this shit off like you're dead to me. I don't like that side of myself. Sometimes I do because I'm like, oh, look, you do have that gangster in there.
Well, sometimes we confuse empowerment with self-protection. I guess that's what this whole show is about.
Yeah. Yes, because as I talked it through with Amanda, I started realizing like, whoa, okay, this is an opportunity for me. I told Amanda, I'm like, I'm probably going to be really grateful someday for this super raw, painful feeling right now. I'm going to want to thank her at some point because this is pulling out of me like a magnet, things that were buried so deep. I had no idea that they were even there. I had no idea what they even were. And in a heartbeat, this girl had the power in a way like a magnet just to pull it straight to the surface. Well, again, it's these types of relationships, these friendships, it's these painful interactions that cause us to question the things about ourself or our stability or where we're at in the world. And she was able to do it in seconds, like things that I thought were just totally healed. And it happened more than once in a room full of people, like we're having a situation where I'm talking to someone else and she walks up, literally butts in on the conversation. I try to talk to her and include her in the conversation. She looks me again in my face like, I'm not even responding to you. Yeah. This girl's got the ability for sure to cut deep, but it's also protection. Like, gotta be protection for her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why does she need to do that? That's where you can practice your internal, emotional, esteemable boundaries, where I'm not going to respond in that way because I understand. I'm enlightened enough to know that this person's hurting, that this person is just a product of their own experience. And she needs to respond, probably because you guys were all in major grief, right?
Yeah.
Weddings and funerals, they just bring up the most emotion in people.
They really do.
So you were capable of understanding, maybe not immediately.
I didn't want to, Amanda. You heard my voice. Like, I didn't want to.
You have to go through the anger.
Yeah,
you
I
have
was so
to go
mad.
through that. I'm not saying that we should be walking around like Dalai Lama, like kumbaya all day long. Like, we have to feel and we have to get angry.
Yeah.
But we can't sit in that for too long. We have to use it to say, what is this anger teaching me? It's a teacher. There's fear. Fear is always the emotion under anger.
A big time. And because I'm not somebody who... That's not like my ace in my pocket. The whole like anger thing is not my strongest card in the deck usually. When it does come up, it's foreign to me. And I'm like, oh shit, what is this? And you're right. It is stemming from a place of fear because you're questioning everything. And also like, wait a minute, this relationship had a structure for years upon years upon years. That was one way. Why is it all of a sudden like this? Or why do I make this person like literally ill at this point? Well, when you look at it, you're like, well, hold on a second. Maybe it wasn't always what I thought it was, number one. Number two, has this person gone through changes in their life that you are bringing, just like she's bringing things up for me. Maybe I'm bringing things up for her. I don't know what they are, but how many times do we tell ourselves or we hear it in recovery, like, what you think of me is none of my business, right? I could say that all day.
Sure, it's easier, so much easier said than done.
So much easier said than done. And that's what this provided me the opportunity, because in my conscious mind, I was like, this is not about you right now, Ginny. Like, you need to calm down.
That right there is progress.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot happening in the room around, like a lot. There's a lot of heartache and a lot of emotion.
And you're an empath and you're feeling deeply. You were open. You were so open. And then this chick just took a shot.
Oh, bro.
Right? Your aura was gone. Your aura was down. Boom.
That's probably, and then that angered me. I'm like, does this person think because everyone's in this vulnerable situation right now that they get the pass to do this to me?
You know, why people treat us certain ways or why people pull away from us. My own personal experience with this is people have pulled away recently and I'm like, well, why?
Yes.
Why? Like, I can kind of maybe understand it, but the truth is I don't have to. No. I have to just respect that person's boundaries and their lack of desire to be close with me.
Yep.
And I have to accept that. And I have to understand the capacity that they're able to go into relationship with me.
Yeah.
And understand that letting somebody go and just be who they need to be without trying to figure it out all the time.
Oh, God.
And without trying to pull them in closer and to then jump through hoops. I'm going to jump through hoops of fire and I'm going to do this and I'm going to bend over backwards to make you want to be close to me. Letting those people go and respecting their direct or indirect messages of, I'm not interested.
Right.
That is compassion.
That's such a good point. It's such a good point.
So, like, not having to figure out why this girl has an issue with you, where we know you're reflecting something back to her that she doesn't like about herself. That's typical.
But then isn't that crazy? I see her now and go, yeah, but did I do something that offended her? Did I do something? Like, what was it?
To look at so that, like, you can maybe change your behavior in the future, but to not, like, lose sleep over it. There's differences.
Man, I did. But that's what was hilarious is because we're going on probably 3 years of this, kind of taking on this different tone to it than what it was. And it kept me awake. It hurt. I couldn't not think about it. I would sit there and I would talk it over with my husband or whoever. I didn't talk it over with too many people, but I'd be like, I just don't understand.
I totally relate. I had somebody who I was so super close with for a while just completely ghost me. Completely, like, I don't think my texts were going through because it didn't say delivered. I'm like, did this person block me?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? And I mourned that person for a good 6 months until I finally had to take down all the little trinkets. I had to put away all the cards she gave me. I had to get rid of all the stuff because it was just like pouring salt in a wound, and I couldn't move past it.
Yes.
Because I was just sitting in it and trying to figure it out. I tried to figure it out. My sponsor in New York calls me the big brain. She says I have the figure it out isms.
Yeah.
Right? I'm constantly trying to make sense of things that either are unsensible, there's no sense to be made, or it's not my business. It's not my business.
It's not even about you.
I don't need to know. I don't need to know.
Because it does cause me to look back and go, okay, as much as you're like, oh, Ginny, this isn't about you. Like, you're making this shit about you, Ginny. Like,
exactly.
It comes back
there you
to,
go.
like, you are making this about you.
That's the emotional selfishness I talk about versus the selflessness where, wait, maybe it's not about me. Maybe that person's going through something and I don't know what they're going through. And if I can flip the script here in my mind instead of thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm my worst enemy. I'm always blaming myself. It's always me. I always did something wrong.
I know. I get that. It surprised me how off guard it threw me off track completely. It was a train wreck for me. I was like going along and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't even care. I don't care what this person thinks of me. I'm over it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be treated like crap. You know, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to take it. And then in my mind, had let it go.
This also speaks to the whole love, loss, and connection part of our program. Our program. What are we on your program tonight on
yes. Listen, couples. Welcome to the program. I love that. That makes me so happy. Please join us for our program.
But, you know, you were in a state of loss. You were in a state of grief. You guys were in the midst of saying goodbye to like somebody so close to you. And
an amazing individual.
Yeah.
Everybody was in an incredibly painful
state. That is also why it hit you so hard.
Probably.
Because you were also in a state of vulnerability, like we said. Like, she saw the jaw and she took a shot.
Yeah, or maybe didn't even know. Maybe she didn't. She kind of had. I think she had to know.
I think I doubt it was premeditated. I doubt she was like, I'm going to go F with Ginny today because she said. I think it was just her own stuff coming up, right? And trying to understand that. But then, like, you know, these emotional boundaries that we have to set within. We talk a lot about boundaries with other people, but then emotional boundaries within. How far are we going to go into the chaos with that person?
How far? And then
how emotionally invested are we going to be in this situation?
Yeah, especially because my immediate reaction was like, I will not be around this person unless it's on behalf of other people. I'm going to be around this person in the least amount that I need to because I'm not here to take shit. Like, that was my immediate. It took me a couple days to like...
Totally. That's the default.
Yeah. But with exactly what you're bringing up, which is why this was like so wonderfully uncomfortable for me, is because it's exactly what I wanted to do. My immediate reaction was like, I'm dead to you, you're going to be dead to me, and you're going to feel it. And I'm not going to be around. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be around you. My immediate thing was, I'm not going to be around, but it's exactly what you're talking about. As much as it's like, oh, I'm drawing a line in the sand. No, it's a running thing because this is making me so uncomfortable. I can't stand it. So I don't want to be around you. I had to really ask myself those questions. Like, are you doing that out of really drawing a line in the sand and standing up for yourself, or because you're avoiding the discomfort?
And even if you do the work and you look at yourself, that person still can be dead to you. But it's how are you letting them go? Yeah. Are you throwing them off the cliff?
Yeah.
Or are you giving them a little proper burial?
Right. And the thing is, and genuinely with me, that's like not even my wiring, right? No one's ever really dead to me. It's not even who I am.
That's like, not you. You're not throwing people off cliffs.
Not usually. I'm not, but beware. Don't cross me. Or else I'll get on the program and I'll start telling you some things.
I hope you guys like my laugh because I feel like I'm just laughing in your ears for like the past 10 minutes.
It's the best. I love it. But yes, it made me question a lot of things and it helped me so much, which is why it was so good. We talked about bringing this up because there's no way I'm the only person who's dealt with this with a family member or, you know, because it's got to happen all the time, especially when we're going through painful times, that we have these weird times and where we could make this an opportunity instead of turning it into this crazy like novella, like Mexican soap opera that gets so dramatic about myself, that it could be an opportunity for me to take a peek at some things that I thought were healed that actually have nothing to do with her. They have to do with like way older things that I still haven't allowed to fully come to the surface about how I feel about my worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Amanda.
Yeah.
Golly, I gotta find a therapist.
I have a good one.
Nice. Hook me up.
Good. So some tools that we could give you guys, like when you're in those sort of situations where these people are really pushing your buttons and you want to leave or you want to lash out or whatever, reframe your self-talk. This is not about the other person. This is what we're trying to drive home today.
Yeah.
Is this work is within you. So these are your own boundaries within that you're setting, regardless of how somebody's acting around you, right? Choose different verbal language and body language, your posture, roll your shoulders down. Very often, if you just stop and think about how you are in those situations, you're probably not breathing.
No.
Your shoulders are probably up in your ears. You're probably stiff. Just relax your body, relax your jaw.
Don't be on
your jaw's
guard in
probably
this
tense.
situation.
It's a defensive sort of feeling. It's a somatic, right? A bodily defense. I'm going to tense up because I'm bracing for the hit.
That's exactly what it is. Because I don't want to get cold clocked again. So, because it happened, it's like if it happens once and then you're like, oh, you're going to be around this person again. You're in this tense mode. Instead, like you're saying, just be present and let them know I'm aware. And again, not to take abuse from people.
Exactly.
But to be like, I'm clear on what you're doing here, but in your presence, not even so much in your words, but in your presence and in your tone, and you're anchoring into the space.
You can set the stage. We teach people how to treat us.
Oh, God,
if you're showing up in that, I'm expecting for you to hurt me, or I'm expecting some kind of negative interaction, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get that.
100%.
Whatever your perspective is what is coming back to you. What you see and you perceive the situation to be is whatever you're looking into it for. So if you enter these situations with an attitude of, I don't need to be on guard, I'm good, I'm solid, I have my self-worth, whatever this person does or says.
Even if they cold clock me.
Listen, I'm not sitting here saying that you should be a doormat and that you should allow people to treat you badly. Or you can leave and walk away. But how are you leaving and walking away? Or if you respond to the person, what's the intention? What's the feeling? What's the energy? My whole thing is that our energy is creating the chaos out in the world. So these situations are opportunities for us to shift our energy when we're in these. And people coming up on an election, right? What is this, 23? We got another year and a couple of months. They're gonna start fully cocked, both barrels coming at you very shortly.
Yes.
They haven't already. I'm not really paying attention, but you're going to be in these conversations again.
Oh, yeah.
Because
100%.
shit is so much worse now.
It's almost laughable how much worse it is because it's so much worse. But you're right. Let's be real, you guys. I know all you guys know. We're here. We're reminded when we lose people, when they pass, whether quickly or through illness or through overdose or whatever, like old age, it doesn't even matter. Like it's brief. This time here is brief. And how you leave that moment. And that is something for sure. I caught myself. There was a part of me, the ego part, that was like wanting to leave in a cold manner, wanting to make this person feel shitty. And I'm like, Ginny, come on, dude. You don't know you're going to get more moments with this person. Don't do that.
Your power really lies in leaving that situation and maybe having somebody shake their head, an SMH, in a, wow, did that person really behave? Wow, she didn't come back at me. Wow.
You're showing them love.
Their head in a way of, wow, that went completely different. And why did I have to act like that? Why can't I act as peaceful? Why can't I feel as calm and compassionate in emotionally charged situations? You have so much power that that is where the empowerment comes in. It doesn't come in I'm protecting myself and I'm never going around that. And I'm going to make sure that everywhere I go and everything I do is surrounded with good energy. Yeah, that's ideal.
Sure.
That's ideal. But what's the truth of that? Is that reality? You can't control it. Are you going to stay in your house? You're going to stay in the meditation cave for the rest of your life? No. I got
Are you Buddha? Are you Buddha? I didn't think. Are you Jesus? I didn't think so.
Yeah, life is going to happen. We cannot protect ourselves 100%. When you come up on these things, and even if you're a little rebel rouser.
Show number one.
So show number one. This is how you can change things. These situations, you can shift this energy so that there's more peace and harmony out in the world, regardless of what's going on around you. So you get honest with yourself when you're in these conversations. Where is this heading? Is this situation devolving? Is this conversation going down the wrong path? And how can I flip this thing around to bring it back to something where maybe we both agree on, or just something different? Like, you don't have to be talking about politics. There's plenty of other things to be talking to people about, but when these difficult things do come up, put this in perspective. Understand what the person is capable of. Who are they? Who are you actually dealing with?
Yeah.
Are you dealing with somebody who's capable of meeting you in a level of peace and harmony, regardless of your difference of opinions or whatever issues that you're triggering each other? Because I've had people in my life that happens with, where we feel things, but we're able to. My dad was just here for the past week.
Yeah.
We kind of teetered a little bit, but we both know how to bring it back down, because we both have in the forefront of our minds, we love each other.
Period. We love each other, and it's such a great point, but also it's like, you've already said it once, but it's so true. Having that feeling of just being really honest with yourself and trying to dig and go, all right, what am I going to be thankful for that this person's helping me bring up? Because when we hang on to those old wounds, especially the ones we don't know are still there, we think that they're healed. That's taking up space. It's taking up heaviness. Those wounds are so dense. And when we can't see them, that's space where we could have love and creativity and connection. When we do this exact situation, it could either be one of two things. It could either just so aggressively open you up and make room for something beautiful, or it can become more dense and cause you to be even carrying that darker heaviness.
To close off even more, to shut down
close
even
off
more.
even more. And it's the easiest, it's the first safest thing to do, is to feel that.
Yeah.
It is.
You feel justifiable anger, your ego grows.
Oh, God, yes.
That's the problem, people.
Yeah. We all have these opportunities, and this is one. Like I said, this is one for me for sure. And I was grateful to have such a good friend and soul sister to listen to me and to help me and to be objective. Like I said, she's objective, and she kind of just helped me sift through my own thoughts. I wouldn't have looked at it in that way had I not heard myself saying what I was saying, and allowed myself to really be like, what am I going to be grateful for at some point? Because I know I am. There's so few people that can bring up those situations for me. I'm going to be grateful at some point of like, wow, man, that really brought up some totally unhealed things I didn't know were there, like cleaning out your basement. Girl, oh shit, I didn't know I still had this ab roller.
The ab
from
roller.
1997.
Oh
wow,
my God.
look at this.
Yeah. And, these major lessons in healing that we have to go through are going to keep knocking at your door. They are not going to go away. They're going to come about in different ways. They're going to manifest in this situation with that person, maybe a year later with that person, a death or whatever. It's not going to go away until you deal with it.
Oh my God. And death really brings it out in people, doesn't it? Golly, we have a look that comes out in that.
Oh, yeah.
You watch it, and all the time in families, I can't tell you how many people I know where their families literally are like divided now after a death, because there's all this trying to maintain control of
The money.
feelings, the money.
It's always about the money.
I think we just all of a sudden are like, everyone's trying to gain some like real estate of what can I control? None of us has any amount of money, power, magic, sorcery to change the outcome. So we start like grasping and all these things.
I wonder if that like fighting over the money is just symbolic of trying to find some kind of control.
I feel like it is.
It's not even really about the money.
No, because we can't change it. The person is transitioned on. Nothing we can do, no matter how powerful you are.
It's interesting.
So that's going to happen, as we all know. I know y'all have been there. I can almost guarantee every one of you listening right now is like, oh, yeah, that was my aunts. That was all my uncles when my grandpa died or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone's got these stories.
Yes.
We see it, and we could change it. We could start to turn that tide.
Yeah, it's human behavior. I mean, it's been going on forever. But when we have a more heated society and we have more fear out there running the show, which makes us grasp for control and to be heard and to be seen because
Validated.
everybody thinks they're right, and you might be. You very well might be.
Yeah.
But somebody might not see what you think is right as their right? So there's a right. So there's
Yeah, right.
you don't know how many rights I delete when I edit these episodes.
I love it,
We
though.
say, so, you know. We say that 50,000 times.
Yeah,
But anyway, okay. So why don't we throw down the challenge?
let's do it. Challenge. You could give it to me, too, because
I'll do
I
it too.
probably need it more than anyone.
We all need it. And Ginny, I just want to say the reason why that conversation helped you when you called me was because you were open. It was nothing I said. I'm just a messenger. We're all just messengers.
Yeah.
And my experience, that's all it is. It's not anything original, or I'm not so freaking, great sage over here. It's just what I've been living for a long time.
Yes, you are a
And
great
just-
sage.
Well, it just came through. But you were able to receive it. I've had very similar conversations with people that I hung up the phone and I was like, they didn't hear a word I said. I just spent an hour on the phone with this person.
They heard nothing.
And the last thing they said to me was like not even anything near what were you talking about. They're just so solid and stuck in
It's
their
an easy place. It's
way
like
of being,
quicksand.
because it's scary to have to. You jumping into that vulnerability, into that fear, and looking at yourself. It's huge. So I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much. And again, like I said, I appreciate you being objective and also trying to come from a place of love, because it is easy at times. And we can have that that tribal thing, right? Where immediately you could be like, what? So what happened? Oh gosh, let's talk about how terrible it was. Because we have those friends who are like, yeah, I got your back, but it's.
Yeah, and we feel a sense of like strength or bonding or whatever, and this like camaraderie against one person. That kind of like group mentality when you get more people revved up about one thing.
Well, look at politics. We're doing it in politics. It's kind of a tribalism. It's a sense of like, I got people in my corner. We're gonna have something to fight over, and instead of being like, hey, whoa, what is being brought up for me that I need to heal? Because if I'm healed, it's not going to bother me that much. I'm going to be able to let people be who they are and go through their stages of all the things. Why is this affecting me so much? And
and eventually the initial response is going to be of compassion. It's not about me. It's about them. Somebody asked at my book launch party the other night, because I write about people cutting you off in my book. I use that as an example a couple of times in order to practice this kind of stuff. And she's like, so let me ask you, when exactly did you stop caring about people cutting you off?
what did it take? What did it
And I was like, you know what? I still have to practice it. And I was very conscious of saying multiple times in my book that I do not have any of this stuff licked. I'm growing with you. We are all growing together all the time.
Really are.
So I still on the road have to, all right, it wasn't about me. That person just cut me off, whatever. Like my initial default is, because I'm in fear, because I'm going to get in an accident, or that was really rude and inconsiderate. And it was. And I don't love inconsiderate people. I'm never going to say that's great. Go on, be inconsiderate, be unthoughtful.
It's so
You're great.
We should do this again. Cut me off.
Yeah. So it's a good barometer for me to check in to say we are constant works in progress, and I'm constantly having to do it. But I get to it quicker today. A couple of years ago, or 5-10 years ago, if that happened, if somebody cut me off, I probably wouldn't even have had that thought process, that switch in the mindset to say,
You don't know what kind of day they had, or
I don't know. Maybe they're in the hospital. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just are inconsiderate, and it's not
didn't
about
even
me.
see you.
They didn't see me. Or you know what? They would have done it to anybody else. It's not because of me. Oh, I'm going to go get Amanda in her gray Honda Pilot. No.
Isn't that weird how on the road? I've told you this before. Like my husband too. You, my husband, my friend Courtney. I've heard you guys talk about the cutting off, and when Tom's driving, he's like a magnet. There's constantly people. Shitty drivers all around. I don't experience that often with driving. I never have like road rage. What is that person do? I'm never in that situation. I'm in a lot of other ones, but never in that one. And any time I'm in the car with Tom, it literally happens all the time. He's like,
well,
what
the
is
truth
this?
is, Tom, if you're listening to this, don't hate me. The truth is, you're bringing that to you.
Right.
You're
That's what I told him. There's for some reason. And maybe it's because you got to feel like you got to have a little bit of that battle, or
maybe the way you're driving is unconsciously aggressive in some way that those people feel they need to then kind of come up against you.
Right. Well, it almost always is. He's always right in the sense, but it always happens because if I'm in the left lane and I'm going fast and I come up on somebody going really slow, I just
go around them.
That's not my husband. He sits there angrily. It's almost like, you're going to feel my presence because you're not supposed to be in this lane. Like,
well, that was like us the other night going out to dinner. Ginny and I went out to dinner in Denver with some friends a couple weeks ago. And I was in the left lane and I'm going like 80. Our speed limit is 75.
Yeah, you're already above speed limit.
But in that 85, I guess people are going in this. So this guy behind me wanted me to move over.
It was so crazy.
And he was like, I could see him in my rearview mirror. He was like, his hands were up, like, just move over. Like, he was...
And Amanda's like, nope.
And guess what I did? I just stepped on the brake ever so slightly, and I just kind of like hung out, and then I moved over. So I have work to do.
Right? Well, this is the everyday things. These are the things we're all
like, why? And the guy was right. Get out of the fast lane. Move over.
It's called the fast lane, bro. Listen.
He's right. And I'm still annoyed that he's telling me to move over because I think I'm going 80. It's fast enough. You shouldn't have to go. You shouldn't have to go faster than 80.
Listen, mister. You don't need to get, you're already 15 miles above the speed limit.
My God.
But see, that's Tom. He's always like, he doesn't ride, but he'll stay back there. And I'm like, why don't you, like, literally the middle lane? Because that's not the point. This is the fast lane.
Exactly. We're very principled, which is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
It's a beautiful gift.
Yes. And you and Tom are that way. You guys both have that way about you. So, yes. But it definitely translates to the road.
So it's how we use it. I always say that, right? It's how we use all this stuff. So
exactly.
None of it's bad. It's just how it's used. All right. Back to the challenge, people.
Yes, do it. Let's go.
Okay. So next time you're going to be in a situation with somebody who's going to challenge you based on past experience. It's like, well, I know this conversation's going to go down this path. Instead of not going, role play it. Okay. Try to. Idea. If the person is predictable, if you know it's going to go a certain way, consider how you might respond differently.
Almost like presets.
Yeah. And not so much to like diffuse the situation or what they're going to say. Although, like I said before, you do have some kind of power in that. But to diffuse your emotions. This is all about you. So you don't get so worked up, so that you can be level-headed, so that you don't walk away with these ill feelings inside, so that you could say, all right, well, if this person says this or does this, I know it's going to spark anger in me.
Right.
Or I'm going to feel threatened or hurt or pain. So put yourself in that situation and then say, well, what can I tell myself? How can I go into this and set myself up for success, right? With these feelings, this positive self-talk. Like whatever they say is impersonal to me. It's just who they are, and I can let it roll off my back and all that kind of stuff. So that you aren't the one that is leaving the baggage. You're not the one having to walk away saying, I wish I didn't say that. That was really rude. I wish I went and did this another way. So try and walk yourself through it. And some of you might be saying, why even, what's the point? Why even put myself in that situation? Well, we just talked about it, why you might want to put yourself in that situation. Because by being with that person and responding differently, you're going to walk away instead of feeling like, oh my God, I just unleashed on this person and now I feel like a piece of crap.
Right.
Walking away saying, wow, I just showed that person love and compassion and I like myself.
Yeah.
I like myself.
I can trust myself and I can trust my own emotions. I can trust that I will be here for myself. I'll show up for myself in the situation. I'm not going to need some kind of response from them. I have something that's anchored inside that's going to allow me to keep that calm level. And the more you practice that, the more you trust yourself in those environments. And you, like you said, those esteemable.
When I was writing down some notes for this, what came to me with the show was for this program was
we need a typewriter.
I know, seriously, was an emotional escape route. Plan yourself an emotional escape route.
Good call.
So that when you're getting worked up, because you can feel it. I get hot. I get a little flushed. Like I can feel it coming on. And then
my throat tightens up.
Yeah. Yeah. So try to tap into role play it, right? How are you going to feel? What's going to happen? But I'm not saying that's not going to happen. That's going to happen. What are you going to do after that?
Right.
What are you going to do
in it?
Yes, in it, while that's happening. What's your emotional escape route? What mantra can you tell yourself? How can you get back to taking the higher ground, right? To rising above. Soul rising, having emotional maturity, the spiritual evolution of your soul, and say, you know what, I am going to rise above this whole thing and I'm going to be loved no matter what. No matter what.
No matter what. And even if it means sometimes you do have to kind of smile and maybe not leave the premises, but walk away to go engage and have a living conversation with someone else.
Yes.
But not leave like the whole...
What do you need to do for yourself?
Yeah. It's a great challenge. I'm going to think a lot about it because I think I'm going to need some of those things in place. So I'm definitely going to be working on this challenge. I hope you guys are too. And you should let us know how that pans out.
Yes,
And,
please email us, soulrisingpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
So the second one, if you don't like that one, if you're like, yeah, you girls are nuts. I'm not.
Crazy town. You guys are, no.
What you could do is, before you think you might enter these sort of uncomfortable situations, write down all your difficult relationships in your life, okay? And then make 2 decisions. The first one, decide if it's worth it for you to change the dynamic. Because some people are never going to be who you want them to be.
Yeah.
So write down the difficult relationships, get honest about who they are, and say, is it worth it to me to put in this kind of work?
Because it might be.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Yeah. I feel like if this person is bothering you enough, it might, so that you might care enough about them that you might want to
It wouldn't hurt so
change.
bad. Wouldn't hurt so bad if it didn't. So yes, it's a great point.
And if you're going to decide to stay, then what's your game plan? Then you go back to challenge 1, right? So I guess before challenge 1 comes this one. Figure out these relationships. Is it worth it for you to continue engaging with these people with the intention of showing up in love and compassion in order to, over time, shift the dynamic? Because I'll tell you, I'll testify right now. I've had a lot of relationships where I've worked for years and years and years to change the dynamic, and it's worked. It's worked.
That's huge.
And they've gotten better.
And that's huge for a lot of people to hear, because everybody's got at least 1 or 2 that run really deep. So that's a big deal to hear that.
Yeah, and if you decide that it's worth it to stay and do this work, how are you going to do it? What's your emotional escape route when this happens? How are you going to interact with these people? Are you going to respond to their text right away? Are you going to not respond at all? Are you going to be like me and type something out and delete it about 5 times before you actually send a loving, neutral sort of message? Are you willing to do the work, really, is what it comes down to. That's your challenge, to decide if you're going to do that. And then if it is, role play it.
It's such a good challenge, and so many good tools that I know I can use, and hopefully they will help you guys too, just because, it can kind of get you stuck if you're not actively thinking about how to, potentially deal with the next chapter of a relationship like that.
And the way that, if you are unwilling and you're like, but I do want to be willing, think about, what am I going to get out of it? Say to yourself, how am I going to grow in this?
Right.
That will determine your willingness to continue engaging with these difficult people.
Right. And could it possibly, at least even if nothing else, bring me peace?
And if you need to walk away, walk away. I'm not sitting here. I'm not trying to convince you. This is really for the people who are in relationships that they really don't want to end, that matter to them, and really don't want to show up in these uncomfortable situations and react the same way. So
yes, exactly.
All right. Well,
Sure.
I guess that's it, guys.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us. We love you guys.
And last thing, check out my Facebook page, Amanda McCoy Flanagan, to see Miss Ginny over here do a amazing, heartfelt, moving rendition of Bette Midler's The Rose. She sang it.
It was such an honor to be able to do that. It was so cool.
She sang it at my book launch party.
And you need to go buy the book if you haven't yet.
Yes.
You need it.
I'm getting a lot of really good feedback from people, so I'm gonna
Tell us again,
err
Amanda.
on the side of it's okay.
It's fantastic. And can you please remind all our friends here where they can pick it up?
Oh yeah, on Amazon. Go on Amazon, or you go on my website. I just redid a website. It's pretty nice. Go check it out.
It's pretty nice.
Amanda McCoy Flanagan, McKoyFlanagan, all A's, 1 N. That's what I say.
I like it.
So yeah, go check out my website. You can buy my book there, and I really
Where
hope you
else?
like it. And
Where else can we buy the
on the
book?
website, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Give the full title.
Trust yourself to be all in, safe to love and let go. Ginny, you're really good at this.
Yeah, did it for a little while.
You could just put in Amanda McCoy with a K. Trust yourself.
There you go.
That's it.
That's all you need. And everything you're going to learn in that book is also part of what you hear us talking about all the time. So we're all learning to trust ourselves.
Yeah. I'll also put the info in the description stuff. So
Yes.
all right, guys, thank you so much for being with us. Again, tell your
Yes.
friends. Share the good word.
Spread the word. Come back. Hang out with us. Let's keep rising together for sure.
Next one will be on in 3 weeks as well, because I'm going to New York. So
Yes.
got some plans in the way, life in the way. So we'll see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah, we love y'all. Have a
you.
good one. Peace out.
If this podcast resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. That's McCoy with a K. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
See you next time. Until then, let that soul ride.